All right, so yeah, I had the pleasure of coming up and actually meeting Rusty just a couple weeks ago for coffee. And I think, like Rusty, this is my first run for public office. And what struck me most about when I sat down with Rusty and what I look for in anyone that I'm going to support, as a candidate, is that they're just a good person, a good, thoughtful person. And that was just really apparent the first time that I sat down with Rusty. We met, we're at Crumbum in Littleton, and immediately it was very clear that this was someone who really takes the needs of the community very seriously, and is really passionate about this, which I think is what this district needs. The other thing that was very clear in that conversation is that he just approaches this with a team attitude. We are all in this together, and we've got to elect Democrats up and down the ballot. When you go into the ballot booth or the voting booth, vote from the bottom up. Don't just stop at the top after you vote for a presidential or congressional race. So I don't want to take, this is Rusty's night. I don't want to take too much of your time, but why don't we give it up for Rusty?
Hey, good evening, everyone. Let's see if I can get close enough to the mic so that everyone can hear me. All right, can you hear me back there?
Yeah.
Thumbs up? All right, excellent. Well, thanks so much for coming out. Ian and Marlena, you guys are the absolute best. Rek-Lis is fantastic.
Thank you.
Let's give it up for them.
Thank you, Rusty.
Thank you.
So, my name is Rusty Talbot. I'm a local business owner. I'm a family man. I've got 2 kids in local schools and local public schools. And I'm a dedicated public servant. And I'm running for Senate District number 1.
Nice.
I'm running fundamentally because I am fed up with the status quo. I am really, really frustrated by seeing folks who are grandstanding and pushing their own situation on their constituents instead of representing the needs of their constituents. And I'm fundamentally really frustrated that it seems like Concord is not working for the North Country. Just go through and look at what bills have actually passed and are going to be enacted coming out of this session, and I'd be hard-pressed to see anything that actually positively impacts the North Country. Now, I also recognize that just being frustrated or just having some degree of angst or anger really is not the foundation for a meaningful campaign or for lasting change. For that, what you really need to have is you need to have a vision, you need to have commitment, and you need to have follow-through. And I'm here tonight to try to make the case to you that I'm the guy who has all of those things and can be a strong leader in Concord to really bring the issues of the North Country to the fore to actually enact meaningful legislation and meaningful change. So I think that you really understand somebody's values best by seeing how they spend their time. So I'm going to tell a couple of stories about how I spend my time and why I spend my time doing what I'm doing. So here we go. I believe that neighbors should really help neighbors to the extent that they can. So I'm a member of my local fire department. And when people are having a really bad day, other neighbors and I get together and we help them. I believe that a thriving arts scene is absolutely necessary for a thriving community. And for that reason, I've been on the board of the Colonial Theater just up the road here for about 7.5 years now, and I'm currently the president of that board. And it's an amazing theater. We gotta give it up for the Colonial. I believe in the restorative power of the mountains and how important it is to get out there and enjoy them, whether it's hiking or mountain biking or rock climbing or ice climbing, and to know that if something goes sideways, because sometimes it might, someone's going to be there for you. And for that reason, I'm on the local search and rescue team, and currently I'm the captain of that team. I believe that people of all different abilities should have the experiences that we thrive off of. And for that reason, I have been a strong supporter of and volunteer for and worked with the Adaptive Sports Partners of the North Country for over a decade. Nate's back there. Big shout out for Adaptive Sports Partners. And I believe that students should have the opportunity to achieve their full potential and to be able to reach their career aspirations regardless of what financial background their family comes from. And for that reason, I'm on the Littleton Rotary Charitable Fund and am currently the president of that, and we raise money for scholarships. And this year, a couple of weeks ago, we just wrapped up raising about $40,000 for local deserving kids. And we're gonna be distributing that out to about 22, 23 kids in the coming days. I feel really proud of that. I hope that all these things, and by the way, these are the things I do in my spare time when I'm not working or with my family. When I'm working, what I do now by profession, and many of you know this, about a decade ago, I founded the North Country Climbing Center, which is an indoor rock climbing gym and an outdoor guide service where we take folks rock and ice climbing all over these amazing mountains. And I could talk at length about rock climbing and ice climbing, and some of you have heard me talk, and some of you have talked with me for hours and hours and hours about just how beneficial it can be physiologically and psychologically for the individuals and for team building and all the rest of that. But I'm not here to talk about rock climbing or ice climbing. What really strikes me about the success of the North Country Climbing Center has been the way that it develops community and the way that folks come to the gym because they want to rock climb or something like that. They think it's a good idea or they're already into it. But they stay because it is their place and they feel comfortable there. We need more third places. And Rek-Lis here is another example of an amazing third place. Right? It's not where you sleep at night. For a lot of us, it's not where you work, but it's the place you come to feel comfortable. And that's something which I think is really important. And if you look at the thread that goes between all of these things that I'm doing, I think that thread is community building. And I think that's what we really need to focus on. But I also want to mention that before I founded the North Country Climbing Center, I have some work experiences that actually helped me become a better person, that I could translate that experience into action down in Concord. So the first job I had out of college was a management consultant, working primarily with big pharmaceutical companies to help them market their pharmaceutical drugs better to consumers and to providers. And in that experience, I learned an awful lot about how the healthcare system works and how people respond to incentives. I really didn't feel like that was my life calling. So with a small group of friends, I founded a small consultancy that had this pretty audacious idea. We thought that if you combine really thoughtful strategy with the latest technology, you'd be able to solve some problems that hitherto had seemed intractable. And we got this little consultancy going, and one of the first projects we got was a contract with the US Army Corps of Engineers, and we worked with their headquarters to implement a lessons learned system across the whole Army Corps of Engineers. Now, this was the first time in over 200 years of existence of the Army Corps that they had had a system in place so that you could actually find out when you're starting a project in one district, what were the experiences of folks, the successes and failures in other districts. Sometimes having a really important change is there's a pretty logical solution to that, and that's one of the things I learned from that. Our big coup happened when we won the recovery.gov contract. Now, if you remember back to 2009, there was this thing called the Great Recession, and the Recovery Act allocated $787 billion to be invested into local projects throughout the whole country. And part of the Recovery Act required that there be a website that folks could look at to see what investments were happening at any given place and how much money that was. And then they'd be able to look and see, was this a good investment, or was it a boondoggle that somebody wasted money on? Or was it fraud, waste, or abuse? And so our little company partnered with a larger company, and we won the contract to build that website. And what was remarkable with this was that you could actually, we created this interface so that you could zoom in and see literally in your neighborhood what money was being spent and how that was being spent. And then you could go out into your neighborhood and just make a decision for yourself whether or not it was a good idea. And this was, unlike some other big government websites that shall not be named, this launch actually went really smoothly. And there's some very fun stuff on the Daily Show, if you look back at some of those old episodes, where they were talking about the success of this website, actually. And one of the things that I took away from this was really understanding, A, that a small team, if you've got the right motivation, you've got the right people in the room, you can move mountains really fast, and you can bring together Democrats and Republicans to make decisions that are good for everybody. The other thing I learned was that transparency really is amazing, and that we need more of that. We need to be able to look through and see end to end how our money is being spent, to be able to make decisions about whether or not investments are good investments, because that's really what government spending and taxation and all that is about. Anyway, thank you for letting me speak to you. I've got a lot of thoughts about actual specific policy issues, but I feel like I've already been talking for a while. I'm looking forward to chatting with you the rest of this evening and through the rest of this campaign. The whole point of tonight is really just to sort of highlight the energy of the North Country, the energy of this campaign getting going, to highlight a couple other folks who are running for things. So as we had already mentioned, Mike Liberty is running for the Executive Councilor District. That includes us here and is a really strangely shaped one that goes west and south. And Martha McLeod is also running, and you're running for, I always forget.
County Commissioner.
County Commissioner for Grafton County. And let's see, Sue Ford, who's amazing back there, wanted me to say that we also have a coordinated campaign office for all the Democrats up and down the ballot in Littleton, and it probably is the nicest office that the Democrats have ever had, I would argue. It is in the tannery. Folks can stop by whenever you want. It's in the tannery on the ground floor. Walk in, go to the back and take a left, and it's overlooking the river. It's very peaceful. It's a really nice place to go spend some time. So anyway, last thing I'm gonna say here, please remember, these races, unfortunately, are not cheap. It takes a lot of money to reach all of District 1. Last thing I'm gonna say is a little geography lesson, which actually is, in case the rest of you don't geek out over maps like I do, in case you haven't looked in the last couple of years, the shape of our district has changed a little bit. It's still really big. It goes from the Canadian border all the way down to Rumney. That's like over a 3-hour drive. It's 2,500 square miles. Now, to put that into context, the size of Rhode Island is roughly 1,200 square miles. So we're twice the size of Rhode Island. That's the smallest state. The second smallest state is Delaware. And Delaware is 2,400 square miles. So we're still bigger than 2 states in the Union. And we've got 49 different named communities, I think 37 of which actually have people living in them. So it's a really big district. It's going to take, unfortunately, a lot of resources, a lot of money to actually reach all the voters in every corner of this district. So whatever amount that any of you feel like you could contribute to invest in this campaign, we would really appreciate. On that note, have a wonderful evening. Enjoy the music. Oh, and Sue has something to say.
Of course I do. Kyle, where are you?
I'm here.
Raise your hand. Kyle is from Middle Pennsylvania?
Central Pennsylvania. Yeah,
Central
same thing,
Pennsylvania.
same thing.
And he has come up to work with the coordinated campaign, and we are absolutely thrilled. I mean, when you walk into the office, you're going to meet Kyle. He is also in the COAS office. Henry's here. So COAS people, you're going to know Kyle also. And we need you to stop by, visit. We're going to be canvassing. We are on the way. This is an incredibly important election. We need to get started, and we need to get started and ready now.
And just real quick. Thank you, Sue. Just so everybody does know, like Rusty said, number one, obviously a lot of money is necessary. So if you can donate to Rusty's campaign, please do. Number two is that we have to knock a lot of doors, especially in a district like this one, which is trending a little bit red. We're not going to win it unless we knock a lot of doors, and that starts now. So what we're doing is every Saturday, if you come to our Littleton office, or if you're up there, your Berlin office, we're doing canvas launches every Saturday from now until apparently the end of time. So come up there, we can give you a packet for your neighborhood. You can go talk to some of your more moderate neighbors about why they need to vote for this incredible gentleman, President Biden, and everybody else. And yeah, hope to see you all there. Thank you.
What time?
Oh, that's a really good question. We're doing launches at 10 a.m., 12 p.m., and 2 p.m. on Saturdays. But if you show up and it isn't 10 a.m., 12 p.m., or 2 p.m. on a Saturday, we are still very happy to let you canvass. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out, everybody. Let's give it up for Stephen Moore.